Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this 21st day of October. Congratulations to the LA Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays in the World Series. Will start Friday night. Got a great show with you on for tonight. The Colts, boy, they look to be the real deal. I'll talk a little bit about that. Give you my Power Five. Also, got Rich Ferris coming in 30 minutes past the hour. Said he's got a little insight on the Titans firing of Brian Callahan and, of course, the new coaching search. Maybe I'll get a few ownership questions in there. Rich works with 104.5 The Zone, which is a Cumulus station, radio station that covers the Tennessee Titans. They're the flagship of the Titans here out of the Nashville, Tennessee area. So stand by. We'll take our first and only break, and I'll be back here momentarily, and we will hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then, folks. I'm back here live. Pat says, go dogs, go birds. What's up, Pat? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. All righty then. So the Colts, of all teams, that was part of the 5 games that we picked. By the way, rough week, folks. Rough week. And people on YouTube. I don't know if that was my friends I met from Dublin, Ireland. I told them about the program, and first thing I think that hopefully it wasn't my guys from Ireland, but the first thing they saw was the picks from last week. I was 1-4 of the top 5 games, and I didn't miss one of the college games. A rough week, but I told the person who said something on the YouTube, go back and look at the other 5 picks from the rest of this year. Often I pick the correct score. Listen, it's not an exact science. Like I said last week, with all the upsets, it's fun when it's not predictable. It doesn't need to be predictable every single week. The game becomes boring, I like the unpredictability. Now, I like to be right. Don't get me wrong. I want to go whatever, undefeated every single year, but it's not exact science. Patrick says, it's embarrassed to be an Eagles fan. We're bringing back Brandon Graham. But you know what? I thought that was a big Eagles win for them to exploit that secondary of the Minnesota Vikings. That was a good bounce back win. I actually picked Minnesota in that game. Of course, Carson Wentz always helps them out. He's doomed to turn the ball over. But going back to this Colts team, I did put them in my Power 5 last week. I was reluctant prior to last week to put them in the Power 5. I thought they had a really light schedule. But like I mentioned last week, did a little research. Number 1 offensive line according to Pro Football Focus. And boy, did they show it this past week. Very impressive win against the LA Chargers. Defense there. I know the Rams put on a clinic, but in London, they've flown out. Got there on Saturday, beat the crap out of Jacksonville on Sunday. It was like, 35-7, some crazy score. But I was really impressed, though, a true road game by this Indianapolis Colts team to go on the road and do what they did to this Charger team, who got back Khalil Mack, by the way. Chargers got Khalil Mack, by the way, back, and then they got Quentin Johnson and got steamrolled. I mean, just totally steamrolled. I actually wagered that game thinking that the Chargers were going to win that 2.5 point spread. Of course, that did not happen. even with a few injuries that the Colts had in the secondary, man, 3 straight touchdowns, 3 straight possessions there, 2 punts in the game only, 94 yards, three touchdowns by Jonathan Taylor there. Man, he looked like, I made a note to myself, he looked like Edmund Smith and the 92 Cowboys, if you ask me, running through that line. Lou Moreno, I remember he was such a bad defensive coordinator for the Bengals. They fired him. Down the Bengals can't stop a nosebleed, and this team is one of the best takeaway defenses in the NFL. Buckner, that group, was it Kitty Pay, all playing at a very high level. Daniel Jones has made a big difference on this team. The Chargers looked terrible. They looked outmanned on both sides of the line, and they were at home. And man, you got a potential Hall of Fame coach there, superstar coach with this LA Charger team, and Justin Herbert. I was just really, really impressed by the Indianapolis Colts. I've got a clip here. Plus, Tyler Warren. Listen, Emeka Buka has been leading, in my head, he's been leading the lead in offensive rookie of the year votes in my head up to this point. Now, Buka got hurt, came back last night. Good win by Detroit, by the way. I don't even know if I'll get to that tonight with my guests coming in, but I'll get to Detroit love tomorrow. I'll get to them in my Power 5. But anyways, Tyler Warren, he's bucking up with the Emeka Buka for that offensive rookie of the year. His numbers are very similar to Brock Bowers last year, and we know what Brock Bowers did. Listen to a clip I found online of the Colts when he fell to them, when Miami passed on Tyler Warren, the rookie sensation, all-purpose guy, tight end out of Penn State. Listen up.
Miami selects Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle.
Here we go. Here we go.
Big guy. Let me tell you, there is nobody happier than Matt Connie right now. I was agonizing over that. Excellent pick.
Tyler.
Hello.
Hey, Chris Ballard with the Indianapolis Colts, man. We're going to pick you right here. Welcome to Indy.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're excited. I know you've been waiting around, and I'm glad we brought you in and got to know you, and couldn't be more excited to have you here, man.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome.
I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Awesome. Hold on. Here's Coach Steichen.
Tyler, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you. I appreciate it.
You're a hell of a player, man. You're going to bring great toughness to our team, man, and playmaking ability. We can't wait to get you here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, I didn't know what to think of the Colts when Jim Irsay died earlier this year, and Carly Irsay Gordon. I don't know how I remember that the first time, but the owner's daughter. And if you've seen the clip there, that was on draft night when they couldn't believe Tyler Warren fell to. I think they picked 11th or something like that. Great player though. Great. I thought he was going to go to the Bears a few picks before that. And what did my man Patrick say? Hold on. Hurts throwing the ball 80% on Sunday, connecting with Brown, minus the worst running defense. Minnesota slowed down Barkley. It's not good. Yeah, that's true. That is true. They still a work in progress. I'll say that, Pat. But anyways, back to this Colts story here. I just wasn't sure how it was going to work out with Daniel Jones, for one thing. He was cast off from the Giants. And then you get the owner dies, Jim Irsay dies, and then Carly Irsay Gordon, she's my age, 44 years old. I think she might be a year or two older than me. But she is wanting to listen to all the calls. She wants to be involved in everything. You know, she wants to listen to the headset, to the calls that really irk me. But, drive Uber on the side here in Nashville, and I've met quite a few Colts fans, particularly when they were in town a few weeks ago. And they all say the same thing, that They don't really have a problem with her locally. They said she's been around for a while when her dad was alive. And I saw her sitting there, and I've also seen her standing on the sideline. And honestly, part of me, I kind of feel sorry for her because she's standing by herself all the time. So I don't know how bad that apparently the micromanagement thing or just wanting to listen to the headset is not a big deal. I mean, they're kicking butt and taking names. They've got the number 1 seed in the NFL. So I don't know how long this is going to last, but I do know that Daniel Jones, they're in my Power 5. I want to say he's got 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for the year. He's ran in a few touchdowns. He's perfect for this system. I don't think that's a fluke. Now, we're just still early in the season, but I do think that when you have an offensive line built like that, when you have a defensive line built, when you've got both lines intact, all you really need is a quarterback. You know, Pittman's a nice player. Tyler Warren could be a star. Taylor's a well above average guy, got a second contract there. Not an all-world skill group, but they're very good in the trenches. And that's what you need in this league. So kudos to the Colts. Sorry for overlooking you guys, but not now. I was talking to a Colts fan, a guy oddly from Dublin, picked up 3 guys from Dublin on the way home from my work. You know, I live at the airport, so I do Uber on the way home, and I'll drop off people at the airport. And he said, yeah, it looks like they're the real deal this year. And after what they did to the Chargers, I do second it. Hey, listen, they're a few plays away from being undefeated. You know, had the best record in the entire NFL. So very impressed. That game impressed me more than anybody, actually, to be honest with you, folks. Another interesting game. Listen, those second half games on Red Zone, 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Central, 3:30 or 4:30 Eastern, 4 o'clock Eastern, 4:30 Eastern. Those set of 4 guys. I wish they would do 4, by the way, from now on, but that's a whole different topic. Listen, that Giants team up 19-0. Listen, I don't know if that was more of a comeback by Denver or more of a collapse by a Giants team. This got a bunch of young players. I left that game thinking, man, am I impressed with this group? You know, I mean, up 19 points in the third quarter on the road against aggressive and very talented defense. Mind you, Jackson Dart did not have Malik Neighbors. He did not have Darius Slayton. He did Scatterboo. I mean, barely could run the ball with Scatterboo, but man, he was using his legs. He was getting open. They were finding space with Bellinger, that tight end there. He was finding ways to get open against that Denver defense on the road at Denver there with the Mile High Air. And man, you know, 3 weeks ago when I said, when they were losing and they had Russell Wilson starting, I said to myself, I said on this program and clipped it, that they're one of the most boringest teams in the NFL. You know, it's just 3 yards of Paladin. Occasionally you get an Odell Beckham come in there, or Victor Cruz, go back before that. Eli Manning would get hot for a series or two. One of the most boringest teams, off to a really bad start this year. And, you know, it's just such a B12 shot to a team that was flailing, you know, that was really flailing. Now, I'm not going to say that Dart is the guy, but I'm really, really leaning towards that direction. He's just got a natural feel for the game. He's got good chemistry there with the head coach and the play caller there. I don't know if the coach is going to still survive, but right now they're playing with a lot of swagger. And listen, if it wasn't for that kicker, they're winners here, and they end up cutting this guy. What's his name? Judd McNanny. He missed 2 extra points. They lost the game by a point there. I don't know if the air was bothering him. He was knocking in 60-yard field goals in practice. So it might have been something to do with that rarefied air that threw this kicker off here. But Dart, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. sacked 4 times, which means that defense was getting to him. But he was still making plays. I mean, they held Scatterdude to 60 yards rushing, and a lot of those plays were hitting behind the line of scrimmage. 16 carries for him. And of course, Dart ran for 11 yards and a touchdown. They look good. They look good. I mean, you're throwing to guys like Daniel Bellinger at tight end and Wardell Robertson there at wide receiver. And little Jordan Humphrey got him off the practice squad. So, this is a story about the Giants. I knew their defensive line was going to be good, and we knew that coming in. We knew Dart could do something, but I didn't really know that Dart, I knew he's a pretty good passer, and I knew he didn't play great in these big games, but when they played against Georgia and everything last year and whatnot at Ole Miss. But I did know that he did play and he had some really, really big games down at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin, who's pretty good with quarterbacks and whatnot. And he's got a boatload of starts. I want to say 2.5, 3 years starting full time starting. So the moment's not too big. New York is not too big. He's got the swagger. It seems real. Quite frankly, I know it's just a small sample size. They did lose on the road to the Saints. They did lose to Denver, although they should have won that game, and they turn around and beat the Eagles. So there's a lot of buzz between him and Scatterboot right now going on up there in New Jersey, something they desperately need, considering the fact that the Jets have lost another game, and now they're at 0-7, and Woody Johnson's talking about the quarterback already, the owner that's made headlines today. But I just get a sense just by watching that game, because I'm really hoping the Giants win. Denver kind of gets on my nerves. I didn't like what was his name, Sean Payton, said about Russell Wilson. Took a dig at Wilson. Said something, I wish they would have kept the other guy in or something like that. Some kind of smart remark, which is unnecessary. And Wilson said it was classless. And I agree with Wilson. I don't know why Sean Payton did that. Because he realized they seemed like they had their hands full with Jackson Dart there and Brian DeBall's offense. I couldn't remember the head coach's name, but I know he's on a big-time hot seat. And they still got a rough way to go, but they still got to play Dallas a couple of times, and they got to play Philadelphia again, and Washington's reeling. So they still could scoop out some more wins here. The momentum still looks to be in this team's favor and whatnot, especially if they can keep Andrew Thomas healthy. But my sense is he kind of reminds me of the spark that Ben Roethlisberger brought the Pittsburgh Steelers, the way he can run and throw off the run like that back in 2004 when he came in as a rookie. Now, that Steeler team was a loaded defense, and they ended up going like 15-1. And then the very next year, the guy goes all the way to the Super Bowl. So I don't know if he's going to be Ben Roethlisberger good and have that kind of success, win 2 rings. I'm sure the Giants fans will love that. But that's the early sense that I have, judging by the amount of games that he's played. Okay? That was an interesting game. Obviously, 19 points. It was a great comeback for Denver. Denver's a feisty team. I feel like Bo Nix is probably topped out in his talent. They got a good defense there, very quick. They probably should have won that game against the Colts, but there was a bad the offsides call, and then the Colts went to get the game-winning kick, and they probably should have lost this game against the Giants, and now everything's kind of evened out. To talk about the wildest game of the weekend. So I better give you my Power 5 now coming into this week before my guest, Rich Ferris, comes on here in just the next few minutes here, folks. All righty then. Number 5, another quarterback. Listen, I got another great guest coming in tomorrow. Going to talk some college football. I know that Florida has fired their head coach. A lot of talk about the Penn State hiring. Going to talk about that as well. Going to go over them college games and finish up a few more takes. But I'll have Keith Angle, college football expert, on tomorrow. Also, Keith's a big Patriot fan. Going to ask him about Drake May. Played here in Nashville this past week. 2 incompletions. The highest completion percentage, single game. Think about it. The greatest quarterback of all time played for the New England Patriots. Here's my top 5, Power 5. Number 5, the New England Patriots. Who would have thought? Number 5, they're the number 2 team in the NFL right now. Number 2 seed, they're leading the NFC East. Drake May, 91.3 completion percentage Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. That was the best single individual game in the history. I think it was 88, one game for Brady. Drake May and Josh McDaniels, that combination is working like nobody's business. Man, that's some good chemistry there. 12 touchdowns, 2 picks. When Vrabel wants to run the ball here, they are also a legit Super Bowl contender. Now, mind you, he's in his second year as the quarterback. That team's getting better defensively. They don't have a no-name receiving core. I know Stephon Diggs, but he's long in the tooth. Got a good running back tandem there. They hit on their left tackle with Will Campbell. They seem to be getting better every week. They're scrappy. They're ready to play. He put on a clinic. They're number 5 now in my NFL power rankings, okay? Number 4, just talked about the Rams going all the way. The Rams, check this out. Maybe this is a new strategy for dealing with these London games. The Rams went to London on Saturday. Yes, you heard me right. They stayed over on the East Coast after the Baltimore game, from my understanding, and went to London on Saturday, treated it like a business trip. Bam, Sunday, they went like 35-7, beat the crap out of a good Jacksonville team coming off a loss. I thought Jacksonville would bounce back and play well after that Seattle loss. Jacksonville, the most trips of anybody to London. It's their home away from home. They got smoked. Rams smoked them. Love what Jared Verse is doing. Also on the edge here, but also Brian Young. He's got 9 sacks. Brian Young, the other defensive end, 13 sacks for that defense. And, of course, they didn't even have Puka Nacua, no problem. Devontae Adams, still a lot of trust, plenty left there in the tank there. Love what they're doing on both sides. They're starting to look like the team. And, ironically, they're still down in the division because 49ers pulled off the win on Sunday. But they're number 4 in my power rankings. This team is definitely a legit Super Bowl contender. They're going to get Puka back at some point, and they're number 4 in my NFL power rankings. Listen, I may have this team a little high at 3, but they're going to get – I know that Mike Evans broke his collarbone last night, but remember, Chris Godwin was out, Emeka Buka was out, or Emeka Buka was at 50%. And still had like 3 catches, 60 yards. These guys are going to come back. I really like what this Tampa team has done for both sides of the ball. The fact they fought through injuries, they're going to get Bucky Irvin's back of the world. They're healthy on the offensive line. They're still leading their division. They've won a lot of tough games this year against tough teams, Atlanta being one of those teams. Now, I know they lost Detroit. Thought they would beat Detroit with all that secondary out. But Detroit, man, they're a different story. I'll get to them in just a little bit. But listen, they're 3-1 against the 4 playoff teams that they played from last year. And, of course, going into this year record-wise, I got them at number 3 in my NFL power rankings. Listen, I jumped this team all the way up to 2. I opened the show talking about them. I talked about the Indianapolis Colts, 6-1, best record in the AFC, totally destroyed the LA Chargers on Sunday afternoon. Daniel Jones having 3 to 4.5 seconds to throw the football. Like I said, Jonathan Taylor running the ball. They look like, if you had to watch the game and get the yards per attempt that way rather than bad run, big run, bad run. No, it's 4 yards per run, actual run. If you watch it, 3, 4, 5, 6 per run, which means they're just blowing you off the ball on every single down talking about that Colts team at number 2 there. And number 1, again, folks, I don't have Kansas City in the Power 5 just because if the playoffs started today, the Chiefs would not be in the playoffs. Now, once the Chiefs become eligible, and I think they will for the playoffs in the next week or two because the Chargers seem to be reeling and Denver's still kind of shaky. They would be my number 1 team. They're killing it right now. The Chiefs are fully back, rush up. So that's a little bit of subtext there with my Power 5, which would be a little bit different from everybody else. But I got Detroit, multiple players injured. Remember, they had Brian Branch suspended at safety, and they still dominated Tampa last night with practically a whole new secondary from week 1. Love their pass rush. Love their ability to run the ball. Jamar Gibbs, by the way, I want to say he's had a touchdown last night, and he's tied Barry Sanders for this amount of games played and touchdowns scored. That tells you how good Jamar Gibbs is. So, number 1, Detroit. Indianapolis, number 2. Tampa, number 3. Rams, number 4. And, of course, the Patriots at number 5. And speaking of the Patriots, I got my man Rich Ferris coming back in the background here from the Cumulus Sports Radio 104.5 The Zone that covers the Tennessee Titans. And they're the flagship station of the Tennessee Titans that do the games play-by-play. Let's have an applause from my man. Man, you look like you're ready to go coach Vanderbilt somewhere, brother.
They don't need any of my help. I think Vanderbilt's doing just fine.
I'm really proud of those guys. Man, you sound great. Look great. Sent me a text the other day on I guess it was on Instagram. I don't know why. I don't even try to build that thing up. Occasionally I put it on my story there that you had a little bit of insight on the Tennessee Titans. So what's going on in there with this? Is it the coaching thing? Is it the ownership thing? What you got there, brother?
Well, I think they're finally getting to clearing the complete, I guess, coaching staff roster, that reset that they should have done instead of doing it in segments. I think now with Brian Callahan being fired, it really resets the entire organization. I think that was, in hindsight, was a mistake where they hired, they had Vrabel, they brought in Carthon, they kept Vrabel, they fire Vrabel, they bring in Callahan, they fire Ran Carthon, and then they, it's just this, and then bring in Borgonzi, and now they're firing Callahan. So it's just, I feel like, when they departed ways with Ran Carthon, in hindsight, it'd probably been best to go ahead and get rid of Brian Callahan and just completely reset the organization there. Instead, now, it looks bad. It looks bad on a lot of optics. However, I do believe that there's a lot of, media and people talking, crazy things about the Titans organization, saying it's dysfunctional, saying it's not ran properly. Yeah. There's a lot of people calling out, Amy Adams Strunk, the owner.
Yeah, I'm one of them people.
Well, I think the thing is that people got to realize is she's a very hands-off owner. She hired Chad Brinker to come in and be her voice for the football side of operations. Yeah. She hires Burke Nihill to be more of the business side of operations, be the face and the voice, where she wants to stay in the background. So, everybody that's calling for her, I get it to an extent, but those are the people that are doing the day-to-day. She's, at home and doing her thing. She's not...
It wasn't her call to fire Callahan now?
It was not her call. It was Chad Brinker's call. Brinker, and that's his job. He is the day-to-day football operations over the organization. He speaks on behalf of Amy Adams on that side of the football, where Burke Nihill speaks for Amy Adams on the business side of football. And I think there's just too much of people wanting to, where's Amy Adams? And I'm like, well, she, just like any other, major organization, they're hiring CEOs and people to be the face and talk on behalf of the organization. And those are the people that are doing it. They're in the day-to-day. They're in the business. They know what's going on. And she hired them to be that, where she can step back and, if she wants to just kind of kick back and, of course they talk to her and inform her what they want to do. Just like, if you work for any kind of owner and you're the CEO, you're still going to tell the owner like, hey, this is what the decisions we want to make. And ultimately she gives them the blessing. So
Okay.
I think she's getting a lot
I
of.
read that it was her call to fire him then, but maybe it was I might have misread that. Okay. That's
I mean, I believe that Chad Brinker, who I said is over the football operations, he's the top of the chain when it comes to the football side of things. So
yeah,
he's the one that said, "Look, this isn't going well." He kept mentioning growth, saying that things weren't growing in the way that they wanted them to grow, and decided they wanted to part ways with Brian Callahan now because of not seeing that growth, and wanted to keep him till the end, but ultimately the team was regressing and they were concerned with Cam Ward's growth, and so that's why they decided to part ways now and not at the end of the season.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Now, what are you hearing about possible replacements?
They started some. They're going to keep everything in house. They're not hiring a agency or a firm to do a lot of these searches and all these things. Are far as I know, is Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi are together leading the charge, and they're going to work together on making the hiring. And they have the full blessing from Amy Adams Strunk, so it should be them two and moving forward, and just ultimately deciding on who they're going to hire for the next head coach, which has started now. I don't know if I see them hiring anybody in season. They could. Somebody like Mike McCarthy is available right now if they really wanted to. But I think that they're
number one for me, man.
I think it would be a good hire. I don't think it's a hire that's going to get them to where they want to go. But I think if you want to bring in somebody just to stabilize everything for a year or two, maybe 3, maybe it goes well. I think McCarthy's a good coach. I think, he did well in Dallas, even though people, it's always easy in hindsight at the end to say, oh, this wasn't going well. Well, he had good seasons there. They went to the playoffs multiple times.
Yeah.
Not everybody wins. So I think if you could just get somebody in to stabilize and be a solid coach and also an offensive coach to help Cam Ward, I think it's an easy decision. But that's not up to me. But I do think he's a candidate. And like I said, they have started the process of looking at candidates, and I'm sure he's one of them.
Yeah, yeah. What about a guy like John Gruden, man? You heard any rumors about him? He's wanting to get back into coaching,
I don't know why anybody's interested in John Gruden, to be honest. I'm not a big John Gruden guy. I don't think he's really that great of a coach. He's a great personality. I love watching his videos with Barstool. I mean, he's got a big personality. He's fun to watch. But look at the last probably 10 years that he coached. It wasn't good football, that was happening on the teams like the Raiders. And, I mean, I think that he could be a great college coach just because he just fits. The other thing is, too, is like, he's in a lawsuit with the NFL. I don't know how he can get into an NFL job.
Flores is, too, and he's a defensive coordinator from Minnesota.
Yeah, I think a little bit different context, though, of course. I mean, I think Brian. I think. Stuff? What's that?
You mean the Morris Smith comments and the emails?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of very very non PG words and things that were being said. Some very bad comments in these emails that were leaked. So that's more of a makes you wonder a little bit about character issues, and you just can't. You just can't have somebody around like that. And I think with Flores, where it's the opposite. I think Flores was actually in the right and wanted to do the right thing, and they try to want him to be hush hush, from my understanding, and kind of got blackballed for it. So I feel like it's complete opposite as far as Flores doing the right thing and Gruden not doing the right thing.
Well, Gruden, it wasn't investigating Gruden. It was investigated the president of Washington, and for Gruden's name to get leaked, and that is just Gruden. That's why that it did not go to arbitration. or the NFL wanted to go to some kind of other crap and have it dismissed, and the judge said, "No, we're not going to dismiss that."
Mhm.
Here's my take on the Gruden. If you're going to leak out his emails, let's leak out everybody's emails and text messages in the league and see how many, including Roger Goodell's, and see how many unflattering things that are not PG rated for everybody to have. And plus,
Yeah,
that team did go to the playoffs and almost beat the team that ultimately beat the Titans, that Cincinnati team at the end. He was cleaning up a mess with the Raiders the second time around. And he didn't have a quarterback. He got a little crazy at the end with Tampa. But remember, he didn't really have a quarterback there. But I would like to see him. Now, you could do a poll and say, are the black players offended by the Morris Smith lip comments? And I don't think they will, judging by the guys like Warren Sapp that still support him. But I still think he's a good name, man. But
I don't think, even beyond the allegations and the emails and all that, I still don't think, as far as you look at X's and O's in his last few coaching rounds, I mean, I just don't see it. He's not high on my list at all. I wish kind of the groomers would go away, in my opinion. But, I think on the flip side, I think Brian Flores is a great candidate for a head coach. And
he was one that I was going to mention. If you could put him with a good coordinator,
I think that good coaches surround themselves with good coaches. So when and that's the unfortunate thing. I think with Brian Callahan, I feel like he was in a ring of some good coaches and some bad coaches, and the ones that were his buddies happened to be not that great of coaches, unfortunately. And that's just how the NFL works. I mean, you network and you have a group that you kind of stick around with, and it's like, hey, if I ever get this job, I want to bring you along and things like that, which is totally fine. It just sucks that the Brian Callahan era didn't work, and ultimately going back, I think you even said on this show, and we'll find out in 3 years if Amy Adams Strunk and the Titans got it wrong on firing Vrabel. Well, we can say that now because Vrabel's Vrabel's the head coach of the Patriots. They're leading their division right now. Just beat the Titans and doing well.
Were you at the game?
I was.
Okay. What do you think about Drake May, man? I mean,
he's good. I liked him in college. I thought he was going to be a really good pro quarterback, and I think you could borderline put him in the MVP.
I was just saying that. Seriously,
I think you could put him and Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen all in kind of a top 5 of quarterback MVPs at the moment. I mean, it's very early in the season, but Drake May is playing really good football, and I'm kind of glad. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Mike Vrabel, and I've been following him since North Carolina. I always thought he was good. He kind of reminded me of a few different players, and I never thought that he got the name mentions and stuff like that because he went to UNC versus a SEC school or Oregon or USC or some bigger school that's always in the news. I've been a big fan. When they picked him, I was like, he's probably going to do well there as long as they surround him with players. And I think Mike Vrabel's done a good job in just a quick turnaround of being the head coach. And they already had a lot of draft guys already there, and they're bringing in some free agents like is it Stephon Diggs? Yeah, like Stephon Diggs and some free agents that he
tackle,
Well, Harold Landry, some guys that Vrabel's familiar with. Harold Landry, even Austin Hooper, who caught a touchdown, was with Vrabel with the Titans. Tight end that caught a touchdown in this previous game, and I think there's like 2 or 3. Maybe 4 former Titans players that he brought in. When you find those kind of guys that are your guys, and you can just plug them right in. And so I think that team's gelling and, probably way ahead of what their expectations were. And, like I said, Vrabel's a good coach. And I hated that he got fired and is not with the Titans anymore. I understand why. I think it was more about control than it was anything about his coaching ability. I think I've mentioned that here on the show before. But ultimately the Titans didn't want a coach that was going to have a lot of say, and that was their decision, and ultimately went with Brian Callahan, and now they're firing him and searching for somebody else. So, we don't have to wait that 3 years that I mentioned before. It's already over. I think Vrabel won that war.
Okay with them firing him this year like this, personally?
Yeah, the team was just bad. It wasn't getting any better. I was hoping, and I think the other thing too, and I'll give an example here in a minute. I think the thing with Brian Callahan, and I think it's even been said within the organizations, when they hired him, they were concerned that they were hiring a guy that wanted to be an offensive coordinator, but as a head coach, so focused on being an offensive coordinator and didn't really understand how much the head coach needs to be in so many different rooms and, it's involved with so many different decisions and things like that. So I was hoping that was in year one. I was hoping all that would get out of his system. And, come year two, it was like, all right, we got a Cam Ward I really feel good about, and I think he's going to be the future. And I think that he's getting some unnecessary flack right now because the team is bad. I think he'll be fine. I mean, you could say the same thing what was going on with Drake May last year, and we just talked about him being in an MVP candidate.
Well,
and so
Daniel Jones, he's a dark horse MVP.
Yeah, he could be thrown in there too.
Rich, don't you think? Maybe Daniel Jones, player of the year.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Number one seed right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's playing. I think the Colts have got a great coach, and I think they have a good organization. Yeah. I've always thought that, even though being in the Titans media, but also kind of growing up a Titans fan, I want to be biased at times. But the Colts have been good. They have a good GM, even though he's missed just like any other GM. But I think they got a really good team right now.
I just played his reaction, Rich, when Tyler Warren failed at him. I knew that was going to be a play back in April. I said, man, Tyler Warren, were they picking like 14th? I was for sure he was going to go to the Bears, like at 6th or something. I want to say the Bears.
Well, they took a tight end too in the first round. Yeah.
Yeah. The other guy, I don't know if he's as good as Warren, but Warren looks great, man.
But real quick, going back to the example that I mentioned, I almost forgot. So I thought Brian Callahan was just not ready to be a head coach. And here's a good example. Now that interim head coach Mike McCoy, he's been a former head coach, been a former player. Fun fact that I just realized that he was Kevin Dyson's quarterback at Utah.
Wow.
That they played together. And it's just wild to how small of a world the NFL is. But like I was just read, how they won a bowl game with Mike McCoy throwing a touchdown pass to Kevin Dyson to win a bowl game. I think it was in 95 or 96.
Yeah.
And so full circle. Right. Yeah, full circle. Now they're, Dyson, of course, is retired, but still part of Titans radio and things like that. And Mike McCoy, now the interim head coach. But just to kind of going back to, I thought immediately when Brian Callahan was fired that Mike McCoy was going to be the interim head coach, him or Bones Fossil. You have to, once you take a swing on a guy that's a rookie head coach, you just have to, like I said, find somebody that's going to be a quick stabilize and somebody that's got experience. And Mike McCoy, I don't think that he would necessarily be in the runnings, but if he can just stabilize everything for the rest of the way, I mean, you saw the first half of the Titans-Patriots game. The Titans look pretty good. Yeah. But it's continuing that success into the next half. So maybe they're working on that. And I thought Mike McCoy, he had some success when he was with the Chargers. He's been around a few different organizations. I think he was with the Broncos when they won their Super Bowl. He was with a few organizations that had really big success.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's early 50s. So that example I'm referring to. So when Cam Ward was talking about the play that he threw that touchdown pass, beautiful touchdown pass to Chimere DK in the first quarter that put them up. He told us in the post-game press conference that as soon as that play came in, his face lit up. And he was like, I've been wanting to do that play for so long and knew that it was going to be a good play. Well, I think the inexperience with Brian Callahan is like, if you knew the quarterback was excited about that play, and a lot of people felt that play was a success, why have you never run it in a game? And you have your quarterback throwing, trying to smack the table, say, "Hey, let's run this play," and you
Yeah.
never call it, but you have an experienced head coach that, I think the first press conference he had once he became the interim was like, "I want to put my players in the position to win. I'm going to modify things. I'm not going to run my playbook and I'm going to run everything to what the players I feel will put them in a good position." That's a big difference of a head coach in the league, is even as an offensive guy, of saying, I like this play and all my players, but I'm going to call this because I think this is going to work. Instead of listening to the players saying, "Hey, we think this will be a good play," and then have Mike McCoy say, let's play, let's call this play, or when the play comes in saying, let's do this. Like I said, Cam Moore's been waiting all season to do this play, and the first time they do it, it's a touchdown for like 58 yards or something like that.
It was a great play, and you remember Callahan said, "I want to make this about what the players' strengths are." So I don't know why he didn't do that, because he said he was going to do that, Rich. And that's
one thing is, that I've learned with Callahan is, I think that he just seemed, in over his head at times, and I think he's a great guy, very, very nice person, very personable, but ultimately just doesn't have that head coaching gene. And I was telling somebody the other day that sometimes the NFL head coach just has to be that alpha male. You're there to kind of lead, grown men and lead and put them in places to succeed, and you just have to have that control. And I don't think he ever really had it. I think the players loved him, thought he was a great guy, thought he was really personable, and he, but he was never that, just seemed like he was in control at all times. And just in a few days, I mean, it seemed like as soon as Mike McCoy took that podium and was like talking, you're like, this sounds like a head coach talking, where Brian Callahan's getting eviscerated because he doesn't know a rule, a few games ago where somebody could have challenged, and he didn't really know the rule and kind of backstepped with his words and said he misspoke and all these things. But yeah, like, that's just a big difference.
Yeah. You got to know, though. Here's my thing. Here's my beef with the Titans. And I mentioned this on the other day's program, Rich, was, at the time when they fired Vrabel, Ben Johnson and who's the guy? Jim Harbaugh were known as the best guys on the market at that time. Now, of course, Ben Johnson stayed with Detroit that year, but the Commanders tried to hire him. The Titans didn't even reach out to those guys.
No, they did. They did.
Okay.
So,
because I didn't read.
So ultimately, here's the thing: Detroit said no. A lot of teams want to interview Ben Johnson, and Detroit said no, or he said no. He's sticking around one more year, and that's what he did. So a lot of teams, didn't really dig too deep because they were told no immediately. So there really wasn't much buzz about it because he wasn't leaving.
Okay. Now,
and John Harbaugh was kind of Jim Harbaugh was kind of I'm only going one place. I already know what I want to do. It was all kind of like streamlined, and no other team was really going to have a say, as far as I know. Like they already had some, and that's the thing too. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people never realize. Like all these people talk, and things don't happen overnight. They take their time. So yeah, when the Chargers hired Jim Harbaugh, it wasn't like they just were the lucky ones to get him. They was all a plan. And so I don't. The Titans were never involved with, or never had a chance of getting him because he was dead set with the Chargers.
Okay. Now I am familiar that Johnson did turn down the Commanders twice.
Well, he turned down everybody. He was not going to leave the Detroit the year before last.
Yeah.
He was not nobody.
And I hope you're right that they did reach out to him. I hope that's
everybody did. He was the hottest candidate, and
and he was the hot. Yeah.
I mean, Chicago's got so much talent there. They just needed somebody that could just put it all together, and especially with Caleb Williams. I mean, he just somebody to just corral him and get the best out of him, because the guy's super talented, but he's just a lot like Kyler Murray, where gets in his own head and does a lot of things that just is very unproductive, and so getting somebody to really sit him down, make him focus on what he needs to focus on, and I don't think he's had a really great last game or two, but he started out the season hot, and I mean Chicago's still
I think it's
in the
working.
mix there.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What about the idea? Now, this is in Rappaport NFL Network of a guy like a Lou Emirano, Matt Nagy, Arthur Smith. Those seem very small thinking. But what are your thoughts on those guys?
I'm not going to pretend like I know a ton about Lou Amarillo.
That's the former coordinator for Cincinnati. He's the coordinator with the Colts.
Yeah, I don't like. I mean, I don't. I just feel like the same thing that you had is a D coordinator or offensive coordinator. I don't think that's the route they should go. Arthur Smith, I love Art, but I just don't think you want to. I think you need to do something different, something refreshing, and I think there's some other guys out there that could be a better candidate, and like a Brian Flores, a Mike McCarthy. Matt Nagy is intriguing to me. It's kind of tough because the way that Matt Nagy's tenure ended, there was a lot of just weird things coming out of that. But there's a tie between Mike McCarthy and Chad Brinker. They were in Green Bay together. There's a tie with Matt Nagy and Mike Berganzi being in Kansas City together. So there's some connections there that make me think, well, maybe somebody like Matt Nagy could be a good candidate and is familiar with the GM, and there's probably some chemistry there. And not to say that Matt Nagy's time in Chicago was all bad. I think he had a winning record overall. Yeah. I think that was also in a time where Chicago was rebuilding. They never really had a good, stable quarterback, and just had a lot of, I think they've, fired GMs, and stuff like that. So it was a lot of, even outside of him, there was a lot of, turmoil that wasn't set up for success during his tenure, and he still had some winning record. I don't know if I really like his coaching style, though, but that's not for me to judge if he can come here and be successful, and already has some chemistry with the GM that I think is red hot right now. I think that's probably a dark horse candidate in my book, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think I think she ought to try to think big, and maybe do something. I know that Washington, they put Dan Quinn with Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, good matchup, and
something like.
I see where you're going here. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, is just like.
I know
like Matt Nagy.
As a head coach, he's probably not head coaching material, Rich. I don't think.
I don't know. I mean, I think he could be great for the offensive side. I just don't know.
No,
and here's the thing too, like
a really good, strong head coach that's defensive minded, and a Cliff. What if they hired like a defensive guy, but maybe try to get go big with the what's his name, the head coach there with USC. I mean, the thing is, none of these coaches just hire coaches that they're not familiar with. I mean, that just doesn't happen. I mean, I mentioned just a bit ago, like they all network and they all have their guys. So, know Cliff Kingsbury. How did they know each other?
I would have to look into that. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know if that's always necessarily the truth. I mean, did you know that? What's his name? Ryan. Rex Ryan's dad.
Rex Ryan's dad? Buddy Ryan?
Buddy Ryan. That was
with the Oilers?
And Ditka, back in 85, they didn't know each other. They didn't like each other. But he was so good at the defense that Jeff Fisher played. Remember, he played defense. He got hurt on special teams. But this is going back to 85.
Yeah.
But Ditka ran the offense, and Ryan ran the defense, and they just didn't have any type of association. Ditka's actually an offensive-minded guy. He was a tight end, and they won the 85 Super Bowl. I think she needs to do so. I just get a sense that the fan base, these are people I talk to around town, man, that they're kind of like me. They're tired of thinking small, I mean, ain't we footing half of the bill for that dome? I know we're footing part of that bill as taxpayers.
No, we're not.
There's
no taxpayer money is going into that stadium. So let me kind of let me kind of, I guess,
Bill, go
a
ahead.
few parts here. Let's go back to one thing. Amy Adams is not making this hire. This is Chad Brinker and Mike Berganza are making this hire. Of course, she's got a write-off on it, but it's not her thinking. So it's them two are going to lead the charge, and I feel like that they're going to be the ones that are going to be ultimately responsible for this next head coaching hire. She's, of course, like I said, going to write off on it, but again, Amy Adams is not in the day-to-day. She's not doing her homework on these coaches. She's hired these guys to do this. Yeah. And so it's going to be on them. And so we got to think on what they're thinking. And I don't think that there's any small-minded. I think Brian Callahan was a hot OC candidate at the time. I mean,
Who interviewed Brian Callahan?
Rand Carthon. Rand Carthon hired him.
Yeah.
Rand Carthon and Chad Brinker hired Brian Callahan. And that's where a lot of stuff gets segmented. So many parts come falling down instead of just cleaning the house all at once. Yeah, it was all staggered, and I think that's rightful criticism for the organization because of how that went down when they should have just cleaned house after Vrabel, or even before Vrabel, because they forced this marriage with Rand Carthon and Vrabel, and it didn't work.
The John Robinson stuff didn't work. Yeah,
and it goes all the way back then because you fire Robinson, you keep Vrabel. You bring in a GM, you fire Vrabel. You fire that GM, you bring in another GM, you bring in a different, or that GM brings in a coach. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it never really works well when you do it that way. Going back to the stadium is majority privately funded by the Titans, by Amy Adams Strunk. The only taxes from the city is hotel and tourism taxes. No taxpayer in the county is paying for the stadium. So it's all coming out of tourist tax and privately funded. So our pay, so for people that are like, my tax dollars, no, it's not.
Well, you're saying,
and they wanted it this way.
If you get a hotel in the town, you're going to pay part of it that way.
But we're not. It's tourists that are coming in and paying for hotels. You're not buying a hotel downtown, are you?
Well, I have in the past. But
a lot of the tourism money is going into the stadium. It's not coming out of our taxes and things like that.
It's not an actual city tax per se. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. It's not coming out of the residential, out of the people that live here.
Yeah.
It's not set up that way. So I think there's a lot of people that that's their immediate go to. Yeah. Which, in a whole nother side of this, people asking, well, Amy just needs to sell the team. Well, she's putting into a lot of money into the stadium. She's not going anywhere. She's not going to sell the team while she's investing billions of dollars into a new stadium.
Here's these criticisms, though. I mean, like you just said about all this fluctuation. I'm sure she's got to be hearing it,
Yeah, and I'm sure that's why she's staying out of the limelight, and I kind of don't blame her for that.
Yeah.
I think so many people are calling for her head and calling for, hey, you need to speak out. Guess what? She's a billionaire. She don't have to do anything.
Right.
That's why she's putting these other people out there and having the press conferences for her, because she's like, I don't have to do that. I don't want to do that. And I don't necessarily disagree. Like, if I'm an owner and I have the say, why do I need to go and answer to the media? What do I owe them? You know what I mean? Maybe talk to the fans. Yeah. But, maybe I have a message for the fans. I would say that. But as far as she don't owe the media anything. And for the fact that the media thinks that they do is just.
The media is supposed to be the mouthpiece for the fans, Supposed to be, in air quotes. I just think if they go small, man, a lot. I'm just telling you, brother, I have to disagree. I think if she goes with Matt Nagy and she's the one that signs off on that, you better believe it. I think she should sell this team.
It's not her. She's not. She's putting people in place to make the decision. She doesn't know Matt Nagy like they do. Like if they hire Matt Nagy and she signs off, it's her belief in Chad Brinker and Mike Berganza. Is that's what it is. She's not the one that's doing the hiring and stuff. She put people in place to make the hiring of the next head coach. Now, if they miss, I don't say. I mean, I agree that Chad Brinker is on the hot seat. He's the next one to go if things keep going, bad, because he's the one now that's going to have to fall on the sword for it. Berganza just got here. He had a pretty good draft class. I think some free agents
Yeah.
were good. So, I mean, I
Did you
think
like
things are
that
going in the right
second round
direction for
pick?
him.
Is he playing pretty good? That second round pick out of UCLA.
Well, he's on
That
IR right now.
Okay.
He was doing okay. I mean, yeah, he's hurt, so it's kind of hard to say. Their pass rush wasn't great. But he's only been able to play a few games in the NFL, so it's hard to say. Just like it's hard to say with Cam Ward, like he's only had a few games, and you see a lot of really good things, and he's done some bad things, but it's expected as a rookie.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you on Ward. I think Ward's going to be okay. He just, got to get the team around him. Team doesn't look as good as what we originally thought, man. But looks like they're going to get a high pick, and they'll have some money. I
already have my pick.
Yeah.
if they have a top 5 pick.
Oh, top 5 pick. I thought you said I already have my pick of who they like to get.
well, who I'd like for them to get with the top 5 pick is what I mean.
Yeah, who would it? Who would it be?
His name just escaped me, but the outside linebacker from Miami.
Oh, okay. Nice.
What's his name? Hold on.
Is he going to be a top 5 talent?
Oh, dude, he's going to be the number 1 pass rusher first defensive player off the board, in my opinion.
A lot of people are talking about Caleb Downs. He's only a safety, though.
Yeah, I don't think that they necessarily – I don't think you would want to take a safety that high.
Take a safety that high,
I'll have his name here just a second.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I got a second, man. I can't believe we're already over.
Yeah, I mean, that's where Reuben Bain Jr. That's
okay. He's killing Miami.
He's number 4. Just go watch him. Him. Miami's playing outstanding. Of course, they lost last week. Pretty crazy loss, but if they have the 3rd overall pick and Reuben Bain Jr. is there, that's got to be their pick. They need a pass rusher.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
And he's a high motor guy. I mean, I'm not sure who to compare him to, but I mean, he's probably the best defensive player in college football right now.
That's what's up, brother. Anything else you need to add, man?
I don't think so. I mean, this Titans season wasn't, I didn't have very high expectations, and the rest of the way, it's just really about Cam Ward and hopefully he's developing.
Yeah. Okay. All right, brother. We'll plug the show. Appreciate you coming on, by the way. Yeah, it's good stuff.
No problem. I'm always happy to have you have me on, and if for those that want to listen to podcast Big Ten Rich Wednesday nights 9:00, check it out. We talk about everything. Me and two of my friends. But yeah, we talk sports too. So check us out.
Talk everything.
Yeah.
Y'all all purpose, brother. All purpose, man. Hey, brother, I appreciate it. Hey, want to come back on after they hire somebody? Hey, maybe it'll be somebody big, man. I hope it's McCarthy.
They could hire him right now if they wanted to.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
He's available. It'd be very unorthodox, but
right.
That'd be huge. Get him before anybody else can.
Don't you think that maybe Miami may go after him? Maybe Buffalo goes after the guy? You never know, right?
They don't have an opening right now, though. The Titans do.
It may be an opening at the end of the season.
Oh, Miami's definitely going to have an opening. They may be worse off than the Titans right now.
Yeah,
because at least the Titans are playing hard. They just don't have talent. Miami has all kinds of talent. They're just not playing hard at all, and don't. I don't know. There's a lot of disconnect there.
Yeah. All right, brother. Rich Ferris, everybody. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good night, man. Okay, guys, I'll be back here tomorrow. With Keith Engel. Talk some college football there. I'm going to look up that player that Rich was talking about. So have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next time, same place here on The Real Sports.